Welcome back to Project Sunday. Now, we started this project 2 weeks ago, and I had hoped at that time we would be able to begin the project on a Saturday and finish it on a Sunday. But the best laid plans of mice and men, as they say. So, we're finishing it today. When we come back, we are going to finish up our Art Deco Egyptian Revival lamp project. So, for those of you who are tuning in now and this is your first exposure to this project, let me explain what happened. Last week, I started the project and I intended to finish the project, start on Saturday, finish on Sunday. But the best laid plans of mice and men, what can I say? It turns out that there was a major stumbling block, that there was some damage to the existing parts that I was simply not prepared to cope with on the fly. This is damage that can be fixed, but it's not damage I could fix within the framework of a 30-minute video. So I had to order some new parts, delay the project until this week. So we are finishing last Saturday's project today. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the project, a couple of months ago, I was at Bedford Antiques and I saw this beautiful Art Deco Egyptian Revival lamp. Now, Egyptian Revival was huge in the 20s. They had found King Tut's tomb. It was all over the newspapers. It's hard now to imagine what that was. It was like the most incredible event from that era. And everybody was talking about it. The antiquities made tours. It was on the front pages of every newspaper. There was all this talk about the curse of King Tut. It was a media circus. As a consequence, Art Deco adopted Egyptian motifs. Now, to be fair, Art Deco, as it was originally envisioned, did have elements of Egyptian art, Japanese art. It came out of the Paris Exposition in 1925. And so it had a lot of influences already, but this was just perfect timing. It was artistically the perfect storm. So when I saw the lamp, it was wonderful. It's such a piece of Art Deco. It was $85 though. And so I filmed and I said, here, let's take a look at this. It's really, anybody can go anywhere, and if you have enough money, you can buy what you want. That's not what this channel is about. This channel is about buying really nice things if you don't have an $85 budget. But someone had commented on that video and said, it's worth it. It would be a great project. And so I went back. It was still there because, $85. And I bought it, brought it home, and said, we're going to do this. Because I do really love the piece. And it doesn't matter to me if I sell it. I'm perfectly happy keeping it. So, that's the backstory. And then, of course, there was a problem with the piece. We had to go over to new parts. I was disappointed because the one thing I was really looking forward to showing you is rewiring light sockets. So, turns out the new pieces, yes, Audie. Oh, I'm sorry, here we go. He's right here. He's feeling very needy, so yeah, I'm not surprised by this. So anyway, we got to wire light sockets, and that is the good thing, and frankly, that makes all the trouble worthwhile. So let's take a look at the project. I filmed it as I went along, and by the way, I believe I've got about 17 minutes of filming. In all, this whole rewiring project, I probably spent about 17 minutes off camera too. And the biggest chunk of that time was spent looking for my wire nuts. So I have to say, this was a project that was easily doable in about a half an hour, as long as you have the right parts. So let's take a look. These are the parts for our Art Deco Egyptian lamp. And these are the working bits, the sockets. And when I took this apart, I discovered that this socket would not come loose. This little piece, let me put it over here so you can see it, this little piece on the other side, you may be able to see it's soldered in on this side. The soldering has come undone on this side. As a consequence, if you twist that socket, it doesn't come off. It simply spins freely in the hole. Now, eventually I will probably take this apart, but it seemed to me that the best thing to do was simply get new parts. I would have liked to be able to use the existing parts, not just because they are the existing parts, but also it was a lot less expensive to deal with these, because the new parts, and this is how they come, including shipping, was about $50. So financially, I would have been better off dealing with this. But this is where we're at now. And this, there are no instructions. We've just got a bag of parts. So I'm going to open it up and show you what we have. Okay, this is what our parts look like. This piece is the equivalent to this piece. That's going to be the outside pipe. As you can see, it's hollow in there. The wires are going to come up through this. This piece, that's the equivalent of this. This piece will go on this pipe, and then we will have sockets. As you can see, there are 2 socket holes, and the sockets will go in with the assistance of these little nipples. One end will screw into the hole here, the other end will screw into the socket. Now here is the socket once I've taken it apart. This part is where we will attach our wires. It has not been pre-wired. You can get pre-wired sockets, but I got this all as a set. So we'll be doing the wiring on this. This is the outside housing. This is the cardboard insulator. This is the top portion that screws into these little holes, and this is the ring that attaches them. It's pretty simple, and we are just going to put this together and create ourselves some working sockets. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is wire up the sockets. Now, no wiring was included in this bunch of fittings. This is just strictly the lamp fittings. But I got this cord, and you may remember this from the last time we took a look at this lamp. I got this cord because it has a nice vintage look to it, but it is a modern cord perfectly safe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the other end of the cord, that's this end, and I'm going to cut off a couple of sections at the end, about 3 or 4 inches. Now, when I got my cord, I did what I always do and what I strongly suggest you do too whenever you're buying cords. I made sure to get a cord at least a couple of feet longer than I thought I would need. You just never know. So, I will be cutting off the cord right here. Scissors. That's all I really need to do. And then we'll come back and start wiring the sockets. Okay, so here's what I ended up with. I cut off a piece from this cord, and then I stripped the ends. Notice that underneath the cloth, you can see the white and black wires are clearly marked. So, I took the cloth off these little pieces. As you can see, it's just like a little skin. You just pull it off. And then I stripped the ends, so we have something to attach to. And we have 2 black, 2 white. And remember, we had that little mnemonic that told us how to wire. Black goes to the brass. They both begin with B. And the other little mnemonic is when you have a modern plastic-covered cord, one side, one wire, will have ridges on it, and the other won't. It'll be like a bald tire. And our mnemonic on that is black, bald, brass. The wire that has just straight plastic with no ridging in it is going to be the black wire. The white one has the ridges. I don't have a mnemonic for white, silver ridges, but as long as you know one side, you know, whatever's left over goes on the other. So, the next thing we're going to do is start wiring our socket. Okay, so here's our socket with the wires attached. It's a very simple process. What I do is I usually put a bend in the wire, and then I lay the wire around the little screw here so that the long part of the wire is coming up on the right side. Notice it's on the right here, it's on the right there. The reason I do that is because the screw tightens toward the right, and I want it to tighten the wire into the connection rather than if this... See, if I did it like this, there's a possibility that as I tightened, I would be pulling the wire away from the connection. So, that's how I do this. It's a very simple matter. You just do it with a screw, and they are designed so that you can use straight or Phillips screws. Now, we're just going to reassemble this. And we have the top here, and this is our little insulator, and it's going to go into the top. Get in there. This portion, and this is our little cardboard insulator here, is just going to slip over. It's hard to do this with one hand. Slip over our socket. Oh, there we go. And then it's just going to slip into this bottom piece, and then the top piece will come over. Okay, we have our sockets all wired, and those of you with sharp eyes might have noticed that the first time I put this one together, I had neglected to put the little cardboard insulator cap. So, in fact, I took it apart and put it back in, and it's not as if I put this together, forgot the cap, and said, oh well, let's not worry about it. What we're going to do next is we're going to add these little nipples. Now, this is where the nipple is going to go on either side of our little box here. There is a little dividing strip making a short thread end and a longer thread end. The short end is going to go into our little box here, and you can tell because there's a very few threads to hang on to here. The longer end is going to go, there you are. We're going to slide it over our wires and screw it in here. The inside of this cap is threaded, and then we're going to tighten this little set screw to keep it in place. So I'm going to do that and we'll be back. Okay, we are all set up to be hooked up into our little box here. So I've taken the top off the box that just screws on, and I'm going to insert the sockets by screwing them into these two little holes. And when I'm done with that, we will be back. Now notice what happened when I put my sockets in. One of the little pull chains is out in front, one is not. This is where that little set screw comes in. I am going to loosen the set screw, unscrew this until I get it into the correct position, and then I'm going to use the set screw to lock it in place. So that's one of the two uses for a set screw. It allows you to reposition, but it also keeps these from coming off accidentally. So, readjusted with the set screw, and now we are actually lined up as we should be. Next step, I'm going to begin assembling the lamp. So now we are reassembling the lamp. What I have here is a piece of fully threaded pipe. It's threaded the entire length of the pipe. The original pipe, as you can see, was only threaded on the ends, but because I'm using a different fitting on the top, I want something that is adjustable. In other words, I can screw it in as far as I need to. So, I set it up, and mind you, it's not going to stay like this. I simply put the screw in the bottom to mark that place, and now I have a piece of electrical tape. And I'm just going to mark off how much I need to cut off this pipe. Just like that. I'll make my cut right here, and I will screw it into this pipe. So, that's next. All right, here is my pipe. And in order to cut it, I just put a cutting wheel into my, I want to say Dremel, but it's not actually a Dremel. It's a Dremel clone, so it's a high-speed rotary tool. I threaded the wire through, and now I'm simply going to attach this piece, which will in turn attach to the bottom of this. Okay, here we go. Okay, now we are pretty much all together in terms of the mechanical parts of the lamp, not in terms of the electrical parts. Now, I know some of you are looking at this saying, oh my, Sue, your metal parts do not match. And that's very true. But this is unfinished brass, which means before too long, it's going to take on a patina, just like this. I could speed that process along, and I've done a video on how to do this. It's a very simple process. You do it with ammonia, but I just don't feel the need because in very little time at all, it will do this naturally. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is connect these wires. Each connection will consist of 3 white wires and 3 black wires. And as you can see, even the ones that are covered in cloth, you can tell the white from the black. So there will be no trouble with that at all, and I will show you that connection in a minute. Okay, so the connections were very simple. 3 black wires all connected together, 3 white wires. You just twist a wire nut on them to get them all held together. I usually tug on the wire nut a little just to make sure it's secure. And then I brought it over to an outlet and stuck in some bulbs and tested it, and yes, it works. So the next step is to shove this mess in here. It's actually not going to be as difficult as it looks because I'll just bend the wires in. I will pop this on top. Now, let me explain how this works. This is the top of our little housing. There's a hole in here, it's threaded. This is a little nipple. The nipple goes into the threads. And then we have a set screw. And this goes on top. And, well, you see what I mean. This goes right on top. You screw it in. And then this piece goes in here. It just floats loose, and you decide the length you want, and then turn the set screw. Now, I'm not going to do that right now because this dictates how tall the shade is going to be, and I don't yet have a shade for this lamp. When I get that in, I will put this little threaded washer, and it'll slip on here. Actually, I'm going to show you that. Okay, this is what it will look like. Now, in all probability, I'm going to add another wider washer on top of this because this is going to hold the top of our spider lampshade, and frankly, I'd like something a little bigger than this. Now, it came with a finial. And those of you who have been watching my lamp videos know that I'm kind of a finial freak. So this, no thank you. I think this is the one we're going to use on the lamp. I think it does nicely with the shape of the lamp, and even though it's not a specifically Egyptian design, it's a design that looks good enough with Egyptian revival. So, that's what it's going to look like. I will, in fact, put this all together, take a picture, so you can see. Now, it's not going to have a shade on it, but it will give you an idea of what it's going to look like when it does have a shade. Okay, so here is a picture of the lamp as it looks now. What I'm deciding next, and this will probably be another project, is what kind of shade I want. So, I'm interested in your input. You tell me what you think. I found this fabric online, and here's the larger picture of it, and then I'm going to give you a close-up. I think that might really do nicely with an Egyptian revival lamp, but I'm a little concerned that it might be a bit too busy. The fabric is Art Deco, the colors are right, but that's what I'm deciding now. Is this too busy? Do I want to just go ahead with a plain black, well, not a plain black shade. If I go with a black shade, I'm going to get a black shade with a gold lining because I think that will enhance the lamp. Do I want to go plain black, or do I want to just create my own lampshade by buying some junk lampshade somewhere and recovering it? We've done a couple of videos on recovering lampshades. So tell me what you think in the comments, because that will be the next step. I am very pleased with the way the lamp turned out. No problems there. But of course, it was a beautiful piece to begin with. There was no damage to the vase. There was no damage to the stand. It was just really nice, except just wasn't working. So, oh, and one thing I should mention, because I didn't do this, I didn't film it. I did it, but I didn't film it. I did use an underwriter's laboratory knot when I put those wires together. I've done videos on this before, so I'll see if I can find one and put a card up. If not, we will actually just include that in a video. It takes about 30 seconds, but it's a very easy knot, and you should always tie off your electrical cords. The reason for this is people have this appalling tendency to grab a lamp by its cord. Now, obviously, you should never do that. If it doesn't have enough knots on the inside, you can just rip the wires loose. And then, well, who knows what you have at that point. If the lamp is still plugged in, you have live wires floating loose, coming in contact with other live wires. Not good. You can burn your house down that way. So, as I say, if I can't locate that video, because I'm quite certain I did not title it Underwriter Laboratory Knot video, I'll include it again at some other point. All right, so that is what I have for you. That's our project. Let me know what you think. My total cost on this was $85 for the lamp, $50 for the new parts, the replacement parts, and then I'm guessing perhaps $10 for the cord and a few sundry pieces that I just added from my own little, lamp making stash, little bits of piping and things like that. So we're probably looking at about $150 total. That did make this a very expensive project. On the other hand, do keep in mind that you can take the same skills acquisition and apply it to a vase you bought at the thrift store for 50 cents. I went a little overboard, but again, it was a beautiful lamp. I love it. And of course, we had the opportunity to do an instructional video. So as far as I'm concerned, would I pay $50 to do a video on how to rewire a light socket? The answer is yes. Would I pay $150 for a really beautiful and very hard to find Art Deco Egyptian Revival lamp? Oh, I love lamps. I mean, you know that, right? So for me, yeah, win-win. Okay, now please go over to the SueMe's Angels Facebook page. Check them out. Giveaways are still going on. I know when I post the information on giveaways, it says Holidays 2021. No, still going on. And check out the giveaways and stick around, because those are great ladies and they have a good time over there. So that's what we have for you today. For those of you who follow the Just Chattin' series, that video will be on this evening, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And frankly, it'll be on Monday in Australia. It'll be at 1 in the morning in the UK. It's just small world. All right, we're going to watch a little slideshow on our way out. Have a terrific day.